Luck is a part of everyday life. Some people have it and some people don't, and some people have way too much of it. From winning insane lottery jackpots to finding gold and even escaping certain doom, there are some people on this planet that have more luck than they know what to do with. Welcome back to Top 5 Central, where today we look at people who are a lot luckier than you. Finding big chunks of gold is pretty difficult these days if you're not part of a major mining operation. Even then, finding giant nuggets of gold is much rarer than coming across veins of gold woven into the rock itself. But despite all that, a prospector from Australia was able to find a 12-pound gold nugget in the town of Ballarat with nothing more than a metal detector. The lump of rare earth material is pretty impressive to look at, and the amount the prospector will be able to sell it for is even more impressive. At the current rates, a 12-pound lump of gold would be worth up to $250,000. It's safe to say that the prospector has more than paid for the metal detector that he bought to find the gold in the first place. The odds of winning anything after buying a Powerball ticket are actually better than you might expect. You have a 1 in 25 chance of at least walking away with the smallest prize. But winning the big main prize is much worse. To get that main prize, you need to correctly guess all 5 white balls and the all-important red Powerball, and the odds of that happening are currently 1 in 292 million. Of course, with the odds that high, it's completely possible that no one will win the jackpot in a lottery. If that happens, the main jackpot is rolled over to the next lottery, and if no one wins again, that keeps on building up. In this case, the jackpot had managed to build up to $758 million. All this happened in August of 2017, and the winner was a woman from Chicopee, Massachusetts. Everyone dreams of winning the lottery, so it's obvious that this woman was no different.
I just happened to find out I was at work. I was leaving work at night, and I leave with this guy Rob. He's a Chicopee fireman, and we just happened to walk out. And he said, "I bet you somebody won with these numbers as birthdays." And I went, "Oh yeah, I know. It's never going to be me. It's just a pipe dream I've always had." And he's reading these numbers, and I pull mine out, and I go, "Hey, I have that. I have that. I have that." And he goes, "Let me see that ticket." He goes, "You just won." I go, "You're joking. Come on, please." He says, "Sign that ticket now."
There really was complete chance that the woman managed to walk away with one of the biggest Powerball jackpots of all time. An engagement ring can quickly become one of the most important pieces of jewelry that you will ever own. The emotion and memories that become tied to an engagement ring will last forever, but the ring itself becomes a very real moment of the past, especially if the one that gave you that ring has since passed on. A Canadian woman named Mary Grams lost her engagement ring in 2004. She said that she most likely lost it while she was pulling weeds from her farm in central Alberta, and after a long search, they gave up on it forever. Mary had been wearing it for over 50 years after her husband had given it to her in 1951. She never told her husband that she had lost the ring, and instead bought a cheap replacement from a pawn shop. He passed away shortly after their 60th anniversary and never noticed a swap. Fast forward to August 2017. Mary's daughter-in-law had been picking carrots out in the farm for supper when suddenly they found an old ornate ring wrapped around one of the vegetables. The daughter-in-law didn't even see the ring at first and was gonna feed it to her dog, but eventually they decided against it. It was only later that she noticed the ring when she was washing the carrot. Mary recognized the ring instantly, an old heirloom filled with memories that she had thought she would never see again. There was a time where mining for gold was an incredibly common way to get rich quick. These days, it's nowhere near as easy. Gold is called a rare earth metal for a reason. It's not exactly easy to come by anymore. But that doesn't mean that there can't be some random strokes of luck where people find a whole load of gold, and these miners from Western Australia found themselves in exactly that sort of position. The miners were working at the Beta Hunt mine near the town of Kambalda, which is around 390 miles east of Perth. They were mining around 500 meters below the surface of the earth in a spot that was just 3 meters wide and 3 meters high when they suddenly stumbled upon the Golden Mother Lode. Geologists have claimed that the massive deposit of gold is really a once-in-a-lifetime discovery and may be the largest ever found in Australia. In total, the miners managed to extract more than 25 kilograms of gold, which was worth up to 15 million Australian dollars over the course of 4 days. After the discovery of the gold, the security at the site was tightened, armed guards moved the gold from the site to a secure vault, and the miners themselves were kept under tight video surveillance. Not every bit of extreme luck is about finding huge lumps of gold or winning the lottery. Sometimes it's just about coming out of an incredibly dangerous situation alive. The professional base jumper Jeb Corliss almost had a huge accident during a routine base jump while proximity flying, but somehow he managed to survive. Over his career, Jeb Corliss has taken on many daring jumps. He's jumped off the Eiffel Tower, flown through caves in China, and even managed to brush through the string of some balloons as he soared down off a Swiss peak. But it wasn't a particularly dangerous jump that brought such danger to Jeb's life. It was a simple outline jump from the Table Mountain in South Africa. While I say that the jump was routine, that clearly doesn't mean it's not dangerous. After jumping from the 3,500 foot tall mountain, Jeb had reached 120 miles per hour, which is when his left foot clipped a boulder. Due to that, he crashed straight into the face of the mountain. At this moment, Jeb was in a really bad spot. It was only quick thinking and luck that saved his life. Somehow, after bouncing off the mountain face, he managed to deploy his parachute. According to a spokesperson at the time, this is what saved his life. Instead, Jeb was left with 2 broken legs and a torn ACL that needed reconstructive surgery and a year to recover from. After surviving an accident that should have been unsurvivable, most people would have stopped what they were doing, but not Jeb. He still base jumps to this day. There was a time where the easiest way to pay for something would have been to simply turn over a gold coin. But carrying gold around obviously came with its own risks, and so many 19th century people would have buried their savings just in case they were ever held at gunpoint in a robbery or something like that. For whatever reason, some people never got around to digging those treasure chests back up, and a family in North Carolina managed to find their very own 19th century treasure chest buried out in their backyard. While digging, the family stumbled across a can, and after opening, found that it was filled to the brim with golden coins. After a little bit more digging and searching, 7 more cans were pulled from the earth. In total, there were 1,400 gold coins in all 7 of the cans, some of which were so rare that they could in fact be worth up to $1 million each. The couple who found the coins wanted to stay obviously anonymous, which was probably a pretty good move considering how much all the coins were worth, and went on to sell all of them online for the hefty sum of $10 million. These days, comic books are incredibly mainstream. Everyone knows characters like Superman and Batman, and the Avengers have gone on to make the Marvel Cinematic Universe the single most popular movie franchise to ever exist. But that wasn't always the case. Comics used to be considered nerdy and unpopular, and there are some early comic books that are now incredibly rare, and as with anything rare, they're now extremely expensive. One such rare comics would be Action Comics Issue 1, which at the time sold for a measly 10 cents. The comic is so sought after by collectors, not just because of its age, which was printed in 1938, but because it was in fact the very first appearance of Superman himself. This rare comic was found by a man named David Gonzalez, stuffed into the old newspapers that made up some of the ceiling insulation of a house that he was restoring in Hoffman, Minnesota. The comic is so rare that experts estimate that there are potentially only 100 copies of this specific comic still in the world. A copy that is in good condition can cost collectors over $1 million, but unfortunately David managed to tear his copy during an argument with his wife's aunt. As such, he was able to sell it for $175,000, which is still fairly impressive for a comic that started out at 10 cents. Millionaire Hot Seat is a simple game show. A contestant sits in the hot seat, they answer questions, and if they get them correct, they'll earn more and more money. The questions start off easily, and as you rise up through the ranks of cash, they get progressively harder. It's a game that requires one of two things: a wide amount of knowledge that allows you to confidently answer your way through all the questions, or pure luck as you guess your way to the top. Alex Pellis, an Australian university student, was someone in the second group. During his game of Hot Seat Millionaire, he didn't genuinely know the answer to any of the questions that were asked of him. Instead, he guessed the answer to every single question he answered.
I have absolutely no idea already.
From questions on architecture to music, Alex just didn't get lucky with the questions that had been answered and had to go with pure gut instinct and luck. It seemed impossible, but every guess that Alex made seemed to be completely correct, and before he knew it, he had reached the jackpot of $100,000. When cycling down the street on your bike, there are many dangers. You might end up being hit by a car, someone might jump out on the street in front of you, or if you aren't paying attention, you may end up crashing straight into a tree. What you're probably not going to be looking out for if you're riding in the middle of the road is a tree falling out of nowhere and crushing you flat. Tree surgeons are meant to cut trees so that they fall in very certain ways, but when dealing with a tree that needs to fall on a road surrounded by houses, it can be pretty difficult to choose a direction for the tree to go. The most logical place to send it would be the wide open street, but that doesn't mean that the people who are coming down the street are aware of what's about to happen, and this cyclist nearly paid the price. As he rides past the tree, it comes crashing down and very narrowly misses smearing him into paste on the ground. If the cyclist had been even half a second slower, he would have been crushed by the tree. The Fabergé egg is something that has gained an almost mythic status in collector circles. They are small jeweled eggs which were created by the House of Fabergé in St. Petersburg between 1885 and 1917. There were as many as 69 that have been made, though it's thought that only 57 of them have survived to this day. As such, they are incredibly sought after, incredibly rare, and impossibly expensive. There's one place that you wouldn't expect a Fabergé egg to show up at, a random market in the States being sold for nothing more than $14,000. That's exactly where a scrap dealer managed to stumble across the rare item, and not knowing what it was at the time, had planned to sell it off as a secondhand gold after he bought it. The golden egg was the third imperial Easter egg, one of 8 that was thought lost to time. To give a hint at how important and rare these eggs actually are, this egg was once given by Russia's Alexander III to his wife in 1887. To come across such an item at a simple flea market in the States isn't just lucky, it seems like a minor miracle. Check out this video to find the luckiest thrift finds ever. Find out how this one lucky person became a millionaire by doing just one thing. I'll see you